Reverend Stephen McAfee. Please welcome Reverend Stephen as he brings us peace. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan. Good morning. So this is called Peace Be With You. And interesting how all that works, because I didn't know that was the daily word reading. I didn't know that was the second can. I didn't know any of that stuff. Apparently got it. And we're talking about the 9:30 monster, so peace day. Alrighty, so a couple things to share with you. I found it interesting that Susan talked a lot about wholeness in the prayer part, because in English, the word we use is peace, and we have a lot of ideas about what that means, and we have certain feelings associated with it. We have certain ideas and thoughts associated with it. Biblically, the word peace was originally Hebrew, and it's shalom. And the root word of shalom is shalom, which means whole and complete. Mm-hmm. So when you're saying peace in Hebrew, you're saying something that's whole and complete and one. And when you say peace be with you, what you are actually doing is placing a blessing on whoever you're saying that to, asking for the blessing of wholeness and completeness for them. And that is, if you look at the New Testament, where you study much about that historical period, lots of Jews used that as a greeting back then, peace be with you, also as a parting. And still today, in all Jewish cultures, shalom not only means peace, but it means hello and it means goodbye. So it's used for it's like when you greet somebody, it's shalom. When you're blessing somebody, it's shalom. When you're leaving somebody, it's shalom. So it's just peace all over the place. And in Arabic, it's very similar, it's salam. But the other day, I was working at a class with Michael, and he was talking about looking up things in the dictionaries. I do look things for everybody. I look up something in the dictionary. So I looked up in the dictionary what Webster's dictionary says about peace. And it says that it comes from a word meaning whole and complete, which I already knew. And then it says the definition is to be safe from disquieting or oppressive thoughts and emotions. Isn't that interesting? To not have disquieting or oppressive thoughts and emotions. Wouldn't that be nice to have a whole day with not one of those? Yeah, wouldn't it? Yeah. So how about we try that today? Want to? As soon as something is disturbing, disquieting, or oppressive, right then, even though that's present, right then, you have the opportunity to choose where to put your focus. And you can shift the energy if you want to. And while I'm no expert on this, the Fillmores, part of the affirmative prayer, which we talk about almost every week, that we don't say as much anymore as we used to maybe in the old days, is that it was actually a two-part thing. It was denial and affirmation. It was denial of the reality of anything other than separation from God. And it was an affirmation of, when we're connected to God, there is wholeness, and then there's peace, and there's also wellness, and there's prosperity, and all those other things that we like to have. And I used to think that when they talked about denial, it meant the idea of pretending it wasn't there. And I think, honestly, I've known a number of unitics in various unity churches throughout the last 50 years in different parts of the United States that I think took it that way, that they were meant to deny anything bad ever happened, that anything uncomfortable was ever real, that anything that they didn't like was actually going on. They would pretend it didn't exist. Well, good luck, because, you know what I'm saying? Good luck pretending that. You break your arm and go, oh, that's fine. No, actually, it's not. So I have a different understanding of that now, and the different understanding is, I think it's what I was just talking about, is that when these troubling things arise, right then we have an opportunity to deny their control over us. And that we can place our attention elsewhere and change our attitude and perspective, whatever the circumstance is. We have that ability. if we remember to do it. That doesn't necessarily fix the circumstance. Your arm's still broken, still hurts. But instead of being depressed about it, and instead of thinking one more bad thing, what's the next bad thing that's going to happen to me, and why me, and it's always me, and it couldn't have, all those negative spiral cycles we go into. Anybody have one of those besides me? Oh, good. Okay. I suddenly don't feel so alone. That's great. So instead of doing that, we have a choice. We can move our attention in a different direction. So the fifth principle of unity says that knowing and understanding the laws of truth, which we're all seeking to do, aren't we? Knowing and understanding the laws of truth. We might phrase it slightly differently, but that's kind of what we're all after in our spiritual quest. To know and understand the laws of truth, to know and understand the divine. The fifth principle of unity says that very thing, the thing we're all wanting to do, to know and understand the truth, is not enough. It says it's not enough. You have to live the truth. And so wishing for peace is a nice idea. Praying for peace is a nice idea too. But those also are not enough. We need to live peace. So how do we do that? I know how to pray for it. I know how to wish for it. I know how to hope for it. I know how I feel when I don't have it. I know what the world is like who hasn't got a clue about it. I know that. But what I don't know as well is how do I live that in my life? I mean, when I'm here and the theme is peace and the reading is peace and the class was peace and my talk is peace and we're all peaceful, it's like, oh, peace, this is great. But I don't live here in the church. I live out there in my life. Out there, it's harder. Have you noticed that? Yeah. I mean, for me it is. I'm just being truthful. It's harder. And in here, when I want to be at peace, look at the support you have. Out there, some of you have lots of support in that, and that's an amazing blessing. But lots of people don't have support for living a life of peace. And a life of peace does not just mean avoiding conflict. It doesn't. You know what? I mean, it's interestingly enough, I looked up lots of these definitions, and none of them said avoiding conflict. But my idea, isn't that part of your idea sometimes, that if I could avoid conflict, everything would be peaceful? Yeah. It's not true. Have you ever had a time in your life where everything was just fine? You had enough money, you were pretty healthy, your relationships were pretty good, kind of liked your job, everything was pretty good. And while it's pretty good, you start going, when is the next shoe going to drop and things are going to go to crap again? When am I going to lose this? When is something else going to happen? And everything's fine. And suddenly, you're not. Because you're having disturbing and depressive thoughts and feelings. Isn't that why? Yeah. And who thought those thoughts? That then had that emotional reaction once you thought them? That wasn't put on you. You were free to choose. And we choose to think that way. So part of this, the gift that we're given is we have moments in life where by whatever means God teaches us, whether it's through direct intervention, whether it's through grace, whether it's through seeing something, whether it's through a person or a teacher or a book, we have these opportunities where we're taught, remember, you choose. You choose where to put your focus. If I'm looking this direction and I'm choosing to look out that way, I see what's there. You know what I don't see? Everything back there. I don't see it. So if what I'm looking for happens to be back there, let's say that I'm looking for my guitar and I'm standing here going, where the heck is my guitar? It's like it's nowhere. There is no guitar here. I don't see any guitar. I can't see it if I'm not looking in the direction where it is. So I have to look there. Oh, there it is. I had a grandson many years ago when he was really little, and he grew up the first couple of years of his life in this particular house, and he had a bedroom there. And then when he was, I don't know, three, maybe 4, they moved. And so they were in a totally different house. And they got all the house set up and everything. And then they took him to the new house. And at the old house, all his stuff, the room was still in the old house, of course, but all his stuff that made it his bedroom wasn't there anymore. It was an empty room. You follow me? So they went to the new house, and he walked in and looked, and he said, "Oh, there's my room." So we have to look in the direction where what we want to find is. So if we want to find peace, which comes from knowing God, where do we have to look? Yeah, not out there. We can take peace out there, but we can't find peace out there. Our peace. We can experience peace with others, but finding the peace we want for our freedom from oppressive thoughts and emotions, we have to find that in here. So when you have these, the Dalai Lama, by the way, calls all those things, the disturbance and disquiet and oppressive thoughts and emotions, he calls all that afflicted mind states. I thought that's a pretty good description. So when you are in one of those afflicted mind states, are you experiencing peace? So how do you get back to it? What do you do? What do you do? I'm not giving you an answer. I'm asking you a question. What do you do?
First
Have to recognize it. And then what? That's the harder part, right? Okay, well, that's good. First is recognize it. Okay, perfect. All right. What else? Pray? Praying. Okay, good. So we talked about prayer today. Sit with the feeling. Okay, so sit with it. Have you noticed, well, I'll keep coming back to that, I'll come back to that question, but have you noticed when something difficult's going on, if you resist it really, 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 really hard, it gets worse? Yeah. If you can just, okay, this is what it is, got to breathe through this, hang with it, it's going to pass. Because everything, what doesn't pass? What doesn't? Good or bad, what doesn't pass? Everything passes. So just hang with it, it will pass. And while it doesn't fix it, it doesn't make it worse by the resistance. Do you know what happens when a wire has a current running through it and the wire has resistance to that current running through it? It gets really hot. You get really uncomfortable when you resist, don't you? Here's an experiment you don't have to try right now, or you can, because you could be really bored listening to me and want something else to do. So here's another alternative if you want. Take your hand and make as tight a fist as you can make until your knuckles are white. Really, 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 really tight. And then just keep it tight for the rest of the talk, for 20 minutes. Keep it really tight. Already people are going, no. Why not? It hurts. You think that hurts? I'm going to give you 2 things. That hurts, right? So holding on and contracting really hard in resistance hurts. Always. Not just physically. The second thing is, if I just hold this for a few seconds and open my hand, okay. But if I hold this for 5, 10, 15, literally 20 minutes, and then I try to open my hand slowly, it is excruciating. But if you just do this, not so bad. Trying to let go a little at a time is really hard. Just let go. Or don't. But don't sort of let go. Remember Obi-Wan? There is no try, only do. Right. So here's a few things that have been helpful to me that I thought I would share with you. Oh, by the way, in case anybody had anything else, back to my question. So when you are troubled and are looking to get back into peace, Anybody else have some things that works for you that you do that help? You want to say? Say what, Michael? Look in a different direction. Good, good, good. Ruth, you look like you have a...
I wrote a book.
It's in the bookstore, that's right. It's on Amazon.
I'm about to say, I don't know where to start. I wrote a whole book about it. But yes to that.
Just go do something you love.
Go do something you love.
Play a song, whatever.
Do you know, as simple, thank you, Chris. As simple as that sounds, it took me 50 years to get this. So I'm giving you a benefit of a lot of work here. You might already have this, but I'm giving it to you in case you don't. 50 years. Doing anything you love brings you closer to God. Really hear that. Doing anything you love brings you closer to God. Playing music, playing with your dog, letting your cat sit in your lap, talking to a friend, walking in. Anything you love brings you closer to God. Why is that possible? What is God? So what are you doing? Something you love. Where are you in relationship to God? Right there. Because you've opened to love that's right there. That's God. If you're opening to your dog, you think, I'm just playing with my dog. Nope. You're opening to God. When you're mowing your lawn and enjoying the fact that you're making your lawn look nice and you love taking care of it, you're not just mowing your grass. You're opening to God. When you come here and hear me or Wanda or whoever else might be up here, and you're listening to us, what looks like it's going on is you're listening to us tell you something, because that's what's happening at this level. But in the unseen levels, you know what you're really doing? Not opening to us. You're opening to God. Do you know what we're doing up here? At least as well as we can. We're not trying to be somebody. We're not trying to teach you something you don't know. You know what we're trying to do up here? What am I trying to do right now up here? I'm trying to open to God. That's why I'm up here. The day that I stop trying to do that when I stand up here is the day you should never invite me here anymore. Seriously. That's what this is about. So here's a few things that I found that have been helpful to me when I'm in those disturbed states. And for me, the two most common causes of my entering disturbed states are pain and fear. Those are the two big triggers for me. When I'm afraid, not feeling peaceful. When I'm in a lot of pain, whether it's physical or emotional pain, not feeling peaceful. When I'm in pain, and there's a relationship within me between pain and fear. When I'm in pain, do you know what also arises? Fear. Of what? Of the pain not ending. Of more pain. I'm grieving somebody that I just lost. It hurts. That's pain. Now I'm afraid that pain's not going to go away. Now I'm afraid that the next thing or person I love is also going to be taken. And I'm going to have more pain. Do you understand what I'm saying? How that process works? There's a connection there. So when I have those things of fear and pain, here's some things that I've learned to do that help when I do them. Hearing them won't help you, and me saying them won't help me. But if any of us remember to do these things, they'll probably be helpful to you. One is always act on what you know, not what you feel or see. Your feelings are wrong a great deal of the time. And even when they're right, they are transient. Is that not true? You feel happy now, later you don't. You feel sad now, later you don't. They change, don't they? Have you ever felt like something was the case and then found out later you were wrong? Yeah. I just was sharing a story the other day about somebody I saw walking through a neighborhood, and I had this image of a person, and the image tied into lots of things I've been programmed to think, dangerous image. And this was a really nice guy, actually, that I had a really good connection with, that I almost didn't because I thought, I don't like the way he looks. I know that's terrible. It's true though. I didn't like the way he looked. It's like, that's not good. And we, whether it's physical like that or much more subtle, we have these things we have to be careful of. So, and even what we see, ever been to a really good magician's show? Did they really make the Empire State Building disappear? Did you think they did? Did you see any way in the world that that couldn't have been real because you looked and looked and looked and it sure looked like they made it disappear? Don't act on what you see or feel. Act on what you know. And you will have an easier time of things. Second is, when you're disturbed, bring to mind times when love prevailed in your life, in the past. Because ultimately it always has. So remember times when you were distraught, when you were sick, when you were grieving, when you were in pain. Remember those times where there was an end to that, where there was some kind of grace or mercy or love that came forward and things got better. Remember that, because if it happened once, it can happen again. So while it may not feel possible to you, while you may not see any way it can happen, you know it does happen. Bring that to mind. Third, as Michael said a minute ago, change where you're looking. Stop focusing on what you fear. Even though you're feeling afraid, stop focusing on what you fear and start focusing on what you want. Start focusing on what is real. Two last ones. Well, actually, there's another one. And I'm terrible. I'm going to tell you, I'm terrible at this. If you were ever taking care of me and I was sick and in pain, you would not want to be my caretaker. My wife deserves a saint medal every time I don't feel well because I am a rotten patient. I don't like feeling unwell and I get really crabby. Yeah. So when you don't feel well, whether it's from pain or fear, choose to speak kindly. It sounds easier than it is, for me anyway. Choose to speak kindly. The last two are really big ones. Be open to the possibility of divine mercy. Not something you create, not something you control. Be open to the possibility of divine mercy coming into that situation. Because let's say, this is kind of a silly example, but let's say that you were in this really difficult spot, whatever was going on. And all of a sudden, there's this dispensation, for lack of a better way to put it, of divine mercy. Comes right into your life, into your body, into your scenario, whatever it is. Boom, it's right there. It's like this great big Christmas gift wrapped up in a pretty box with a pretty bow. And it comes right there and it's delivered right to your situation, but you refuse to open it. What good does it do you? So be open to receiving divine mercy. That won't make it happen, but if it happens, it'll enable you to take it in. And the last thing is, however disturbed you are, remember all the things you're grateful for and cultivate gratitude in your life. Gratitude opens our heart to love. It opens our heart to the divine. It opens our heart to remembering. In fact, if you look up, back to Michael's dictionary, if you look up gratitude and you look up grace, they mean the same thing and have the same root word in Latin. So one way of looking at gratitude is it is an awareness of grace in your life. So those things I find really, really helpful. Now, as far as relating to other people, when I'm engaging you and I'm interacting with you, there are some things that I can do that will help. And one thing I can do is do my best not to disturb your peace. So if you're all peaceful and lovely and present, and everything is good, I don't need to bring trouble into those waters. I can just enjoy the peace with you. And if you're at peace doing something that I think, well, I don't believe like that. Who cares? There's peace. Why not participate in the reality of love and peace and leave all the beliefs and division and I know better than you and you don't know what you're doing and I don't like that? Who cares? Do you want to win the battle of belief or do you want to be at peace? Do you want to be right or do you want to be loved? Do you want to be able to love? And the second thing is, no matter how disturbed somebody else is, when you engage them, stay in your own peace. Don't step into their disturbance. If somebody's drowning and I jump in where I can't swim and I'm being pulled down by an undertow, I can't help them. Don't get in their mess. Be present with them, but don't engage the mess. Engage them. Engage their soul. Don't engage the mess. Don't get caught up in it. Stay in your own peace. Because if you stay in your peace, what is also present for them besides their disturbance? Peace, which they can begin to take in. Third, when you're dealing with somebody who's distressed, point out options they can't see. When we're disturbed, our vision tunnels. This is what I see. This is awful. Look how awful this is. Yeah, but look at this, but I only see this. Point out options they're not seeing. Open up new things for them. And then the other thing is, bring them the blessing of shalom. So when we say shalom, one of the ways we could translate that into modern English is, instead of just saying peace be with you or shalom aleichem, we could literally be saying to them, may you be free from all disturbing and oppressive thoughts and emotions, and may you be safe in your own wholeness. So that blessing is a blessing that I would like to receive when I dealt with people, and it's a blessing that I would like to help people find. So I think that this idea of living peace is something that's we're not going to discover through intellectual dialogue. We're going to discover it by engaging one another in our lives. And we'll make mistakes, and we'll find things that create disturbance instead of peace in us or in another. But gradually, by continuing to hold to that divine light in us, what we're going to do is find ways to bring ourselves back into peace. And then we can deal with one another from a peaceful place instead of a disturbed place, which will help them find peace. Does that make sense? Makes sense to me. So I'd like to do a little song for you, and then we'll have a moment of quiet. This is a song I wrote a long time ago, and it's actually not a song about peace, it's a song about gratitude. Because, well, here's another thing I've noticed. Maybe you have too. When you're in that space of gratitude, when you really feel that sense of gratefulness for your life and the things that you have you noticed that it's very difficult to genuinely be feeling gratitude and also being upset at the same time? Whoops, I got to turn this on. See, one of the things you got to do is connect before you can before you can do much of anything. There are times for which I'm thankful, times for which I'm not. There are days that I spend wishing for all the things I haven't got. There are nights that I've spent laughing, surrounded by my friends. There are nights that I've spent crying alone upon my bed. But whatever I am feeling, whether close or far apart, God is always with me, living right here in my heart. And so today I thank you, Lord, for loving me, for giving me whatever I have now, and for the constant presence of your endless love. I and all within me humbly bow. There are moments when I'm happy, moments when I'm sad. There are things that I call good, and there are things that I call bad. But with every step, with every breath, a choice before me stands. To fight, to have it my way, or to yield and take your hand. So today I thank you, Lord, for loving me, for giving me whatever I have now, and to the constant presence of your endless love. I and all within me humbly bow. And so today we thank you, Lord, for loving us, for giving us whatever we have now, and to the constant presence of your endless love. I and all within me humbly bow. Yes, I and all here with me humbly bow. So, thank you. So let's just take a moment of quiet. And remember the things in life we are grateful for. Remember that Jesus told his apostles, I leave my peace with you. So knowing what we know, what he is saying is, I'm leaving the completeness and wholeness and the undisturbed inner space that I know. I'm offering that to you. Whether it is something within me or something around me, when I come upon troubled waters, instead of reacting to the trouble, may my first thought be peace, be still. So I'd like to leave you with a prayer, actually from the New Testament, from 2 Thessalonians. And the prayer is this. And right now, may the Lord of peace himself continually grant you peace in every circumstance of your life. May the Lord be with you all.